I don't generally like to talk about regional politics on this channel because, this is an international channel. I'm trying to appeal to as many people as possible. And, the best way to do that is to speak in generalizations and in abstractions rather than getting into the nitty gritty of like particular regional conflicts and events, which, might alienate some members of the audience because, they don't know what's going on everywhere in the world. We all live in different places in the world and we all have different perspectives, and we're all, paying attention to different items in the news. But you may have heard, if you're on the internet yesterday and today, you may have heard about an event in the United States of America where a bunch of neo-fascists stormed the some hall of power, basically some place where like government activities occur. Again, I don't want to alienate anybody by focusing in too much on these kinds of regional disputes, but the basic gist of the situation, if you are unaware, and I'm barely aware of this myself because I don't follow United States politics that closely, but basically have a bunch of people who are protesting the former President Trump's inability to win election or something. Like he didn't, I don't know, there was some kind of controversy over the election that happened like a few months ago. And a bunch of people are unhappy with it or something, and like the politicians are not able to, I don't know, like prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that no corruption happened or something. I don't know, a bunch of people, a bunch of like culturally conservative people, started a protest rally in front of this like place where government activity happens. And I guess like the national capital, I think it's called DC, Washington, DC. So a bunch of these Trump people were protesting, and then eventually it got to the point where the Trump people actually invaded this symbolic building or whatever, and started occupying the place, and the politicians had to actually be evacuated because there was some danger or something. I don't know. I guess a few people got killed. I don't know. And there's something about like the police like allowing it to happen or something. I don't really know. I wasn't following too closely because I don't even care too much about the minutia of global politics. I don't really care about politics. Generally, that's not what I'm about here. But I thought it was interesting because so much of what I was hearing was about how these people are neo-fascists, they're white supremacists, and they're able to get this done because of their identity and whatnot, whatever. But what I think is really interesting and really illuminating about this whole situation is that, yes, as far as I know, there was like a strong contingent of explicitly self-identifying white supremacist groups. The Proud Boys, I guess they're called, were like kind of leaders or like heavily involved in this movement or something. I don't really know. But so they are like explicitly, white supremacists. They are explicitly kind of the enemy. And, as a communist, I'm not interested in working with, people who self-identify as white supremacists or as, in other ways that are like crypto-fascist. I don't want to work with those types of people. They're the enemy. They need to be isolated and then, post-revolution, sent to a re-education camp or something like that. But That is not really what I suspect. Those people are not who I suspect compose or comprise the bulk of this movement. We're talking about a movement with, I don't really know, thousands, hundreds of people. A lot of people must have been involved in order to overwhelm the police forces that was there. Presumably, there's like a decent police force because I guess like the politicians need to be protected or something. I don't know, but there are a lot of people, and not all of them were explicit Proud Boys. A lot of them were just people who supported the president who was elected by popular vote. The population of the United States, I don't know, it's like 300 million or something. I don't really know. That's just a guess. But, in order for the president to have been elected, he must have got at least like over 150 million people to vote for him. I'm assuming that it's just, a regular old election, and, the person with the most amount of votes wins. But, basically, like, over 150 million people voted for this guy, and a large contingent of them showed up to protest what they view to be an illicit re-election campaign, like an election that was stolen from him. So it is, I think, completely unrealistic or just like completely reductionist to blanketly term like 150 million people plus like white supremacists and white nationalists and neo-fascists. It's true that any settler colonial state, especially one that is founded on an institution of chattel slavery, is going to be white supremacist to an extent. But these people are not explicitly white supremacists. They do not, like the 150 million plus people who elected President Trump are not explicitly white supremacists. They do not explicitly uphold, that kind of ideology. Rather, they just exist within a white supremacist system and profit from it and, perpetuate it. But they are not necessarily like ideologues or like theoreticians or like practitioners, explicit practitioners of white supremacy. Anyway, I just think that this whole situation seems to me very illustrative of the left's inability to actually think about forming a coalition with people who share the same political material agenda as them, but whom do not share the same cultural signifiers. So, the left is unable to, get the support or get on board with people who are culturally conservative, who self-identify not as white supremacists or racists or neo-fascists, but as conservative, as, MAGA people. That's an acronym I hear a lot. I'm not quite sure what it stands for, but, people who identify with President Trump, people who are, again, culturally conservative. So it seems like, revolutionary gatekeeping. Like the left is unable to actually, themselves storm the halls of power because they would get violently repressed. That is a reality. But then when another group does, basically along fairly similar lines, in recognition that the system is corrupt, that the politicians are corrupt, that, the economic conditions are completely unsustainable and working against them as, average working class citizens, the left is unable to accommodate for that perspective and to overcome its cultural divide and actually get on board with these sorts of people and actually, potentially go to such a rally and, like harness it or organize within it, or, agitate for a progressive, cultural or, political line within this, dominating, like, reactionary tendency. Like, the communists should fucking be there organizing the reactionaries regardless of, cultural differences. We should not be doing this revolutionary gatekeeping, this fucking cultural divide gatekeeping bullshit. Make allies with conservatives. They have the same critiques as you. They just have incorrect propositions. Their solutions are inadequate. So you need to make allies with them, overcome your cultural divide, make allies with conservatives, grow the ranks so that you can actually have a movement within bodies of the population, such as the military or the police force, and then actually overcome this bullshit cultural divide and be able to actually, organize a mass movement. And that's all I'll say.